G'day ladies and gentlemen, Duckville here, bringing you some Heart of the Swarm StarCraft 2 action. It has been quite a while since I've done a cast, so hope you all enjoyed your end of year holidays and of course New Year's and all those kind of cool things. We are going to get back into the action, got a couple of Whitera replays I wanted to have a look at from Heart of the Swarm. Of course, if you want to submit your own Heart of the Swarm replays, please feel free to do so. It's duckvilleall@gmail.com, or you can message me on Twitter or one of those cool things, and happy to take in any sort of hot replays just because it's interesting to see what people get up to in the new expansion and of course the beta. I myself have been playing around quite a lot with it, but let's just quickly introduce the two players we have here in this matchup first. Of course, starting down in the bottom left side as our red Protoss player, it is Whitera. And his opponent, up to the top left-hand side, a blue Zerg player who's going to be here trying to fight against a very well-known player. Of course, it is Mitsuray, and we'll see what he gets up to here. It looks like he's just going to go for a quick expansion. Of course, not too much has changed in terms of openings for Zerg players in Heart of the Swarm. Of course, you know, you can still see those standard sort of just quick hatches and just sort of moving on, taking a gas quite a lot later and going for those standard sort of roach-based plays. We'll see what Mitsuray gets up to here. Whitera's probe is actually, that guy needs to take his Ritalin. That it looks like he's on, I don't know, some kind of crazy drug right now because he's just spazzing about. But there we go. As we can see, the natural goes down. Looks like that was around about a 15 here. Whitera will have seen that, and of course that probably means that he's going to want to try and take a little bit of a later Nexus. Looks like he's just going up to the 16 and the 17th probes in just a moment, which will normally mean a Nexus first. Of course, Protoss players can feel a little bit more free to expand quite a lot. Well, without as much fear, I suppose you could say. Quite a lot of players in PvZ in Wings of Liberty will actually take quite a lot of time. Sometimes, and quite a lot of players still go for Forge first and that kind of thing, which is obviously the much safer way to play. But in Heart of the Swarm, just due to the fact that you can grab that Mothership Core, you can put out some really nice defense with that with the Mothership Core and its Photon Overcharge ability. You can also get the Gateway first, as we can see here. He's going to put that Gateway down. It doesn't necessarily mean he's going to skip his Forge, but it will enable him to get the Cybernetics Core up a little bit quicker. And the reason he's only gone for the Gateway first is because his opponent's spawning pool was just, of course, a little bit delayed by the hatch, and I think that even went down at around about 16 or 17. So it will be a little bit later, meaning that Whitera is under no real threat right at the start here. He does put a Forge down either way, just to make sure that he does have that capability to put down some cannon protection if need be, continuing to probe up here as well. Chrono Boost going down, and the Assimilator's just about to finish up. So this is where things can start to get a little bit different for Protoss players. You can see quite a lot of players do very aggressive expands, I mean, if you've been watching Whitera's stream, especially him, he loves to just say, you know what, I've got one Zealot out and the Mothership Core, I'm gonna take my third base because it's all good. And I don't know, if you're going straight from Wings of Liberty to Heart of the Swarm and you see that kind of thing, you think you are just a madman. Go back to the Asylum. But it's certainly possible if you can keep an eye and you have good scouting of what your opponent's up to. And if you can see that a Zerg player is going for very slightly later spawning pool, has no gas, all these kinds of things, and of course that third base, which Whitera did see, you can of course you know, go for these kinds of things. So there are of course options like picking up a Stargate and going for Oracles. They have been an absolutely fantastic tool for Protoss players to utilize in this matchup for harassing mineral lines and things like that. Of course, a lot of Zerg players tend to go for just basically blind Spore Crawlers now, just due to the fact that the Spore Crawler helps out with dealing with any possible DT rushes, and it also helps out with blocking out those Oracles, because while the Oracles are quite nice in terms of their the damage versus their, you know, sort of for their cost, they are still quite fragile. They've got a very low shield amount and of course the health as well. And as we can see, Whitera is going to pick up the Stargate. So we will see him grow for that. Of course, it's very dependent on how he wants to proceed. You do see Void Rays from time to time in this matchup quite a lot more. Like in a higher number than in Wings of Liberty, because of course in Wings of Liberty you'd maybe get one, possibly two if you were going for a little bit more pressure and try and get some damage done with that. But it's quite common to see Protoss players in Heart of the Swarm go for a much higher count. We're talking up to 5, 6 of them in fact at the sort of at the late early game stage, which is a weird way to say it, but you know, sort of that time between sort of around about sort of 9 to 11 sort of minutes, you can see players go for a higher void ray count than normal. But as we can see, Mothership Core is out. She's probably just going to try and wander around to help out with map control here. As we can see, Whitera trying to control the Zelnaga Watchtower here. Unfortunately, he will be forced off. A couple of Lings now busting their chops trying to get that Stalker. Won't be able to get it, but it looks like Whitera is going to be able to fend that off at the time being. Looks like a Probe is trying to be a little bit sneaky and head up towards the third base, but he's not going to be able to do that just as of yet. Looks like also the Stalker trying to pick off this Overlord, and that actually leaves the front door just a little bit open here, and that of course is quite a lot of space to try and cover up. And the Lings, 4 of them get inside, 2 of them going to be shot down straight away, but in fact all but 1 have been shot down, and this is going to give Mitsuray quite a lot of vision here. He saw the Stargate. I am presuming he saw that Oracle as well. Just going to run around with this Ling and get as much intel as he can. He's probably going to lose it very quickly here. There is a Stalker chasing after it, but as we said, very quick expansion here to the third base from Whitera. At the moment, his unit count is currently sitting at 1 Stalker, 1 Zealot, and a couple of Oracles along with the Mothership Core. So this is exactly what I'm talking about with these very quick third base expansions. Very, very common to see this in PvZ in Heart of the Swarm. Meanwhile, for our Zerg player across on the opposite side of the map, he's got his third base up. Gases 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 have all been built. His drone count looking nice, up to 68, of course. And now he's going to look to perhaps even try it. Yeah, he's going to grab that 4th base just down here as well. So he's aware that that Whitera has gone for this very quick third, and of course if you've got a Protoss player who's going up to 3 bases very quickly, they're normally not going to be able to do a massive amount of harassment right at the start. However, this is where these Oracles come in with their fantastic Pulsar Beam, which does a ridiculous amount of damage. They are able to just absolutely tear apart mineral lines if the Zerg is underprepared, and in fact I think that may be the case here for Mitsuray. He's got absolutely no defense against this. There is a Queen here, but as we can see, there's that Pulsar Beam activating. Queen goes down straight away, and the drones are getting absolutely decimated in here, trying to set up a Spore Crawler, but Whitera's Oracles are absolutely just murdering everything in here. It's an absolute just hilarious butchery of these drones, and that actually brings him up to 21 worker kills just after that. Basically, it was only that did some damage. Of course, that early Zealot and Stalker Force didn't really do too much damage, and there are more. 27 worker kills. He's not even going to lose. Oh, that was very close. That 1 Oracle. 1 health on this guy. He's very happy to be alive right now. Going to come across and see if he can sweep through and get a couple more drone kills, but not going to happen. These Oracles are basically out of energy now. It does cost 25 energy to actually activate that Pulsar Beam, and it drains 1.4 energy per second. So quite a great amount of damage there done by Whitera. And now, as we can see, Mitsuray does have the 4th base, but still no real protection here against those Oracles, which may come back to bite him later on, but we'll have to see. Looks like the Hydralisk Den, of course, has been finished up and is just about to get done with the Groove Spines. Of course, the Roach Warren is also just about to get done with the Roach Speed as well. So he's going to transition into the Roach Hydra mix. Of course, back in the old days of Wings of Liberty, you would see this kind of built very commonly, but you know, it sort of got phased out when Protoss players started to do that Colossus Void Ray Death Ball and just get and just absolutely mash all over that Hydra Roach composition. So it's back in a way. It's back in a way that you can use it for mid-game pressure. I've seen quite a lot of Zerg players actually utilize this particular strategy as a way to put a lot of pressure on, protect yourself against Oracles and Void Rays and all these kinds of things that are now showing up these days. And in fact, Whitera just coming back in to get some more harassment done. Well, he's kind of trying to stay outside the range of that Spore Crawler, but the Queen comes along. Hydra's here as well. They've got the creep. They don't have the their dancing shoes on just yet because they have not researched that just yet, I believe. Yeah, it's just started now. The Muscular Augments, if you want to get technical, has not been finished up, but Whitera definitely looks to be going for an air-based composition here, Sky Toss, or a particular style that is really making headlines in Heart of the Swarm. You can utilize those Void Rays. They, of course, have their prismatic alignment. Quite a different way to actually use these now. If you find quite a lot of armored units, such as Corruptors, Roaches, all these kinds of things in your opponent's composition, activate that beam, does +6 damage versus armored units, and of course that tears up quite a lot of those units. But of course, they are still very fragile. They are the chandeliers of the skies. You need to make sure that they do have cover on the ground. And Whitera is going to get Colossus out 2 at a time here, so he's going to make sure that he's protected against those Hydras. And speaking of which, the Hydra still 1-1 on their upgrades at the moment, but 2-2 is just on the way. We do also have some of the Vipers, one of the other new units. They're going to try and suck out the energy from these Evo chambers here. You see players very much really liking the way that you can utilize these units. You're very close. Wow. Mitsuray almost shutting down his own research there by taking some of the health out of those Evo chambers. Basically, that's a skill if you played Brood War, much like the Defilers consume, but used in a different way. You effectively just consume a friendly structure and you take down the health, and it gives the Vipers all of the energy that is available here. It does bring it back at 200 life over 20 seconds, and that converts into 50... Wait, what? Mitsuray, did you really just do that? Perhaps not focusing completely here, because it looks like Whitera has actually come down and done his own harassment. I'm sorry I missed that one, but he did run down there with the Void Rays and also had the Mothership Core and utilized the recall to pull the Void Rays back, not losing too many of those at all. And Mitsuray, whether it be intentional or not, sucked down his own hatchery at the natural, and then also lost one over at the 4th base. He's probably slamming his keyboard right now, so he's going to perhaps try and move out here. We've got all of those Vipers here. They can utilize Blinding Cloud, creates a cloud that reduces the attack range to effectively melee range for any unit under the cloud. And this may be a very interesting battle here, because Whitera currently has a total of 4 Colossus out. He's got 8 Void Rays up in the sky, some Zealots on the ground. They do not have charge yet, so they won't be able to throw themselves into the battle. We'll have to see how Mitsuray engages here, moving the Hydras across in a nice concave across the top of the base, but will they be able to do enough damage? Looks like the Blinding Cloud goes down, but interestingly, the Vipers abducting the Colossus out of the Blinding Cloud. Not really too efficient there by Mitsuray, unfortunately for him. His supply count has absolutely plummeted now down to 110 supply. Whitera up at 174, so he is looking quite good right now. The 4th base is attempting to be re-established here by Mitsuray. His own natural that he destroyed himself is only just getting mining again right now. He does, of course, have this inner 4th base here, or 5th base if you want to get really nitty-gritty about it, and it looks like Whitera is preparing to send a little strike force down to the bottom right-hand side to get rid of this hatchery. If those Zealots can get down there and get a kill on that hatchery, we will probably see Whitera just prepare to move in and just go in for a big attack, because effectively that means that Mitsuray is really only on sort of 3.5 bases right at this time. His upgrades looking good too at the moment. The hatchery is about to go down, and there it goes. So the Zealot's doing a really good job, and Whitera is even going to escape with some of these. Nicely done by him. Very interesting to see, of course, if you're a Zerg player. No Infestors have come out on the field. It's really weird to see, you know, this particular matchup being played out with no fungal growth on the ground, no Infested Terrans, any of these things. Mitsuray just going for a different kind of style here. It may kind of come back to bite him in the end, because of course if you think about how fungal works, holds down these units in place, does extra damage to armored units, which of course is effectively this entire Protoss army, but it would be quite nice to have that. And as we can see, Mitsuray will need to try and re-establish that base. Meanwhile, for Whitera, sitting up at 90 workers, perhaps a little bit high for this point in the game. In fact, he's gonna, there you go, he's gonna send out some of the pros because he knows that it is a little bit too high. Gonna sacrifice some of these guys, needs to be able to build some more of those attacking units. Of course, the Templar would be nice to have, because the Storm will just absolutely destroy these Hydras, and we'll see how much damage he can get done with the Hydras here, given that there is such a good composition out from Whitera right now. Keep in mind, there are no Corruptors, there is no transition into... In fact, I don't even think we have a Spire at all here from Mitsuray. But either way, Probe's getting down, trying to attack the Queen at this 5th base here. I don't think they're going to be able to do it, no, because the Roaches and Hydras come along. And now, Mitsuray looking like he is going to go for an attack through the southern side here. I'm not sure how this battle is going to go. We've got Templar with Storm active. There are quite a bunch of Storms here ready to go as well. Whitera also also has some Archons at the back. This is that very deadly composition, which you would be very, very scared to deal with. It's there's Storm, there's Stalkers, Colossus, Void Rays, and of course those mighty Archons as well. Here are the Vipers throwing down some Blinding Cloud. It looks like they're going to abduct a couple of the units, getting the Colossus and the Void Rays, but that does not really matter at all. Whitera not, in fact, caring at all. In fact, so much that he puts a storm down on himself. But that was a very much a net loss there for Mitsuray. He's having to resupply. 26 roaches are being built right now. Bit of a reaction there. Just a straight roach reaction from Mitsuray. Of course, if you think about it, he's not actually going to have a better time with the Void Rays out with their prismatic alignment. They do have +1 on their weapons. Of course, on the ground, we can see that the Archons have +3 as well, meaning that they're going to do an incredible amount of damage against those bio units and buildings of the Zerg player. So Whitera in a very commanding position right now. Mitsuray going to try and transverse across the top side of the map. Maybe he will be able to get some damage done here. It's a relatively exposed base, but we'll see if Whitera is able to react in time. There is, of course, keep in mind the Mothership Core. He may be able to recall back, and we'll see if he does do that. Does he? He's actually just going for another quick strike down at the bottom side here. Some Zealots getting some good damage done, taking down that base, and here comes that attack from Mitsuray. Hydra's Roach is now pushing in. This Nexus under threat, but there is the recall. He gets inside. Have to wait a few seconds for the units to be able to, you know, fully align themselves with where they are on the map. And the Void Rays and the Archons just doing a great job with the defense there. And now Whitera is probably just going to prepare to march into his opponent's base. He's got more units now warping in at this southern side here, just in case he needs to head in down that way. But I don't think that's going to be needed. Knocking down the gateway in the middle of the map is debris is now gone and out of action, meaning that Whitera has a clear path to just walk into his opponent's base. Zealot's going to try and do exactly that. Very interesting to see them just walking straight at it, but here it comes. Archon, Colossus, Void Ray, and the Templar at the back. Here they go. Archon's throwing down their damage, the Storms as well. Looks like the Void Ray is going to be able to just charge up and just absolutely annihilate everything there. There it is, switching up that prismatic alignment, and everything from Mitsuray just absolutely disintegrates. And that is going to be it. Was GG long ago. I think that is indeed true. Very well played from Mitsuray to sort of last this long, but Whitera with that extremely powerful late game Death Ball army here. Good, interesting to see the Void Ray Colossus trying to come back in a way, but there was some really good Protoss versus Zerg action in Heart of the Swarm. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Got a couple more coming up, so make sure you stay tuned. Cheers. Are also on the way. The Corvid Reactor also being researched, so he is going to try and switch across to that sort of mid to late game stage where those units